Hey guys, welcome to my last video on factoring polynomials. So in this video, I'm going to cover how to factor quartic. Quartic means to the fourth power. Trinomials means three terms that resembles quadratic equations that we've seen in the past. All right, so it says, what are the real or imaginary solutions of each polynomial equation? Okay, so for this video, you're going to notice how these look like the quadratic equations that we covered in chapters 2 or 3. Um, but it's not a quadratic equation. It is quartic raised to the fourth power, then raised to the second power, and then very important, it is followed by a constant. Okay, so just that, just raised to the fourth power, raised to the second power, and then followed by a constant term. Okay, so all others, like for example, if there was an x here, I wouldn't use um, this lesson for that. For that, if there was an x there, you would factor by GCF. Okay, all right, just to be clear. Okay, so again, this only works if it resembles a quadratic equation, if the degrees are going from 4, 2, and then constant. Okay. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is make sure everything is set equal to 0. I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. So now that leaves me with an x squared, x to the fourth minus 3x squared, and then minus 4 is equal to 0. Okay. Then believe it or not, from here, I'm going to use the x puzzle. So I'm going to place negative 4 at the top and then negative 3 at the bottom. Then I'm going to look for factors of negative 4. Then when you add them, they equal to negative 3. Okay, so one has to be positive 1 and then negative 4. Okay, I'm going to place these in the same way that I placed them when I was factoring quadratic equations. So I'm going, normally I would say x plus 1 and then x minus 4. But because this is quartic, it must add up to x to the fourth power. So I'm going to write x squared, and voila, when you multiply this binomial with this binomial, it actually equals this trinomial. Let's check it out. X squared plus x squared is x to the fourth. X squared plus times negative 4 is negative 4x squared. And then 1 times x squared is positive 1x squared. So that's why we get that negative 3x squared. And then 1 times negative 4 is negative 4. Okay. All right, then from here we can identify if it's a real solution or imaginary solution, and what are they. So if x squared plus 1 is equal to 0, this is going to have an imaginary solution, because if I subtract 1 from both sides, we get x squared is equal to negative 1, giving me two imaginary solutions, plus or minus 1i. All right. So this solution will never cross the x-axis because it is imaginary. So now the other side, if x squared minus 4 is equal to 0, I add 4 to both sides, giving me a real solution. X squared is equal to 4, and then giving me x is equal to positive or negative 2. So in theory, our graph is going to somewhat look like this, and it should cross the x-axis at positive and negative 2. All right, I'm going to show you the graphs just so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, let's go to decimals. And here it is. I already graphed x cubed, x to the fourth minus 3x squared minus 4. And you notice that, look at the end behavior, because it's raised to the fourth power and a positive leading coefficient. And it crosses the x-axis at negative 2 and positive 2. Okay, so that checks out. All right, let's take a look at my next example. X to the fourth minus 12x squared equals 64. So again, the same idea. I'm going to subtract 64 from both sides. Okay, so that gives me x to the fourth power minus 12x squared minus 64 is equal to 0. Same idea, I'm going to use the x puzzle. I'm going to place negative 64 at the top and then negative 12 at the bottom. So now I'm going to think about two factors of 64, negative 64. Then when you add them is equal to positive 12. So let's see, one has to be positive and one has to be negative. So 4 and 16, right? 4 and 16 will make negative 64. When you add negative 16 and 4, you'll make negative 12. Okay, so that actually works out for us. So again, I'm going to place x squared, remember because it's quartic, plus 4, and then x squared minus 16 because it is quartic. All right. Okay, now I can solve for my x's. Here I have x plus x squared plus 4 is equal to 0. And this is going to give me a imaginary solution of x squared equals negative 4. Therefore, x is equal to positive or negative 2i. So these are imaginary, right? So this will never cross the x-axis. Okay, so the second factor is x squared minus 16 equals 0. So this is going to give me two solutions because I add 16 to both sides. And now x is equal to positive or negative 4. So in theory, it should cross the x-axis at negative 4 and positive 4. So let's go check it out. All right, so here it is, the graph, the equation, the graph, negative 4 and positive 4. We check out the end behaviors, checks out because it's even. And it's also a positive leading coefficient, okay? All right, let's take a look at our last example. Here we have x to the fourth power minus 10x squared equals negative 9. So same idea, I'm going to add 9 to both sides. So that gives me x to the fourth power minus 10x squared plus 9 is equal to 0. Okay, so I'm going to look at my x puzzle. So 9 goes at the top and negative 10 goes at the bottom. And I'm looking for two numbers that will add up to multiply, will make positive 9. And then when I add them, they equal negative 10. So that looks like negative 1, negative 9. Okay, so I'm going to place it with x squared again because it's quartic minus 1, and then x squared minus 9 is equal to 0. So here x squared minus 1 is equal to 0. These are real solutions because if I add 1 to both sides, I get positive 1. If I take the square root of positive 1, I'll get positive or negative 1. So in theory, again, it should pass through the x-axis twice so far. So at positive 1 and negative 1. All right, so now we figure out the other factor, x squared minus 9. So if I add 9 to both sides, again, it's going to give me a real solution. So x is equal to positive or negative 3. So in theory, this should cross 4 times. 1 at negative 1, 1 at positive 1, 1 at positive 3, and 1 at negative 3. So let's go check out the graph. Okay, here we go, right? Negative 3, negative 1, positive 1, and positive 3, right? Okay, and that is it. Thank you for watching this video.